What's up, y'all? So today we're here with Beyond the Blues. This was probably the third painting. Once I got back into painting, it's been about 15 years for those of you who may already know. During the pandemic, I came back into painting and drawing, sketching, working mostly with acrylics, charcoal, and acrylic inks. And Beyond the Blues, listen, Beyond the Blues is probably an accurate depiction of just kind of what all was transpiring during the pandemic, both environmentally, politically, and personally. And so on days like today, I typically like to come and sit with some of the work. This is kind of my staging area, so from time to time I kind of rotate pieces in and out. And this one really is a great depiction of today. And so kind of sitting with the blues, particularly with the warm lighting, which typically I usually like cool lighting with this particular work, but I sort of came home. Obviously it's about close to 8 p.m. It's pretty dark. It's sort of sultry in terms of just how the apartment feels, and so looking at it, it kind of had a little bit of a interesting sort of connection to it today anyways. And so typically Beyond the Blues is a very sort of transverse or melancholy, unfortunately, experience for me, particularly because it's just so much beneath or beyond some of the different hues and tones of blue in the particular portrait that I really resonate with, particularly those pops of white that you see in the far distance. And so for people who kind of know me, typically know that I'm an introvert, very introspective, and tend to be a lot in my head. And so coming back to art has been a great way to kind of make sense of things and kind of build language for a lot of what I've been experiencing and maybe the world around us, and maybe you guys relate in some way. And so this was an emotional painting at the start for that very reason. Now, I guess considering kind of what today has kind of meant for me, it's been an anxious, a restless yet optimistic sort of take on today. This is sort of my first takes on really sharing the work that I've created over the last few years and kind of putting it out for the world. And so it is not an easy thing that I think outside looking in, it kind of looks like, oh, you just get in front of the camera, kind of start talking, but really, particularly with art, it's not really kind of share some of the raw affect and emotion that goes into why many of us artists do what we do and how we articulate that to the people who are fortunate to kind of see it, observe it, and hopefully collect it. And so coming here has been a way to reinforce for me optimism that I can do this sort of putting my content out, putting out the art for those who may not necessarily have access. I'm here in New York City, so there's pretty much art anywhere you go. From the time you step outside to probably the time you come back in, whether it's through nature, architecture, fashion, whatever, music. I think I want this and want the work that I create to be experienced by people who don't necessarily have access to those things, particularly by location or means, and that when we come home into our spaces, I want them and I want for others to kind of feel like it's a little piece of being able to bring the gallery back into your own home. And so for today, that has really been the inspo. It's really getting my nerve up to post. And so this, Beyond the Blues, has really been symbolic of this process of creating which is so opposite from what I historically have done professionally. And so you all take some time to sit and sort of take it in and drop a comment about just what your experience is sort of taking in Beyond the Blues with the warm lighting. Ignore the light placement. This was installed far before I actually started back painting, and so now I'm like, oh, I gotta really change this lighting up in here. So I'll probably do that within the coming weeks or coming months. But let me know just sort of what you take in from Beyond the Blues. I'd be curious to hear and sort of understand what your experience is just by watching it. Obviously, this is maybe a longer clip, so I'm going to try and cut it down a little bit, but tell me what you think. Drop a comment below, and thanks for following. Oh, before I go, so I figured I'd show you guys what it looks like in cool lighting. And tell me, do you prefer warm lighting for particular pieces, or just in general across all of the works that you collect or that you showcase, or do you prefer cool lighting, warm or cool? And there it is, Beyond the Blues.